open, but I need to mute so I won't be looking at the screen for a moment.
All right, no problem. But we're live. Hey, everybody. Becky, I see you are already on and excited, and we're excited you're here. I cannot be, we're excited to meet Hannah face to face for the first time. Hannah, thank you so much for joining us for a live chat.
You're so welcome. You are so welcome. It's so exciting to be here.
Oh my goodness. This has been such a whirlwind getting together because my family's had all the sickness. So I apologize for any coughs in advance, everybody. But Hannah is a speculative fiction, fantasy author, an award winning author. It's truly such an honor. For those who don't know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the kind of fantasy you write?
Happily. First, you may not hear it. I hope you don't hear it, but I'm German. I live
Your
in Germany,
English is
so
great.
you're seeing a piece of Germany right behind me. This is basically my workroom. I like to call it my studio. It's where I write my books. And I'm 50 plus. I grew up a bit further south in the land in the countryside. I now live in Kiel, which is the northernmost capital state city of Germany. I studied English and Spanish in university and finished with a teacher degree. I'm also a translator for English and English German. And I have a
Wow.
well, this is like a school degree. It's not a university degree, but it took me 2 years to get there. I'm bilingual, as you can hear. I think in English when I write and when I speak
Yes.
English. What else? We're having a bit of winter.
It's a lot of snow.
um, no, no, it's global warming. It's no longer sticking. Hi, Becky.
Hey, Becky.
And yeah, no. Also, this is like maritime climate, so we are generally a bit warmer. Kiel is right at the Baltic Sea, and there's not a whole lot of distance to the North Sea, which is attached to the Atlantic Ocean. So weather
Mhm.
moves through fast, and we get the heat from the large bodies of water, especially
Mhm.
in winter. Um, what do I write? I write mainly fantasy.
Yes, you got a
I
lot
throw
of
in the
books.
occasional science fiction story. It's spec fiction if you want, but I don't do horror. I do not do grim dark. Right now, I think life is scary enough for a lot of
Mhm.
people, and for me, in a way, that I prefer to write feel good stories.
Mhm.
And I've,
Mhm.
for marketing purposes, I've been thinking about what is the common denominator between the stories that come to me and that that want out. I write because the stories want out. And it's basically the story of an underdog um, fighting against odds, carving out a niche, possibly changing the world. Many end up changing the world to the better. And I've done that with Dragons, that's the Cloudland Saga, and Cloudland's Beginnings, that's a two series. Well, Cloudland Saga is a series with the same characters. Cloudland's Beginnings is more a collection of standalone novels where you get cameos of old characters. Um, then I did, God, I wanted to try Steamy, and I tried Steamy, and the characters eventually decided, well, not that much Steam. That's a science fiction story about a human colony that was taken over by aliens, and where the humans ended up being enslaved, and my hero sort of does his best to end the slavery and convince the aliens that humans actually are sentient beings and on the same level. But that takes a while. Then I had a wolf shifter story, and I was, I'm always trying to break into markets. So I thought, okay, let's do the steamy stuff again. Let's do paranormal romance. And well, these characters absolutely refuse to do steam. So this is basically young A levels of kissing and sometimes, lifting the shirt, but that's about it. So my wolves decided nope. So that's urban fantasy of a way, but you don't have a lot of paranormal stuff, you have basically a shifter world, and the wolves are the underdogs because they get hunted. And it started out as a family saga, then it became a family saga plus friends. But they do that. And right now, I'm working on a series that's basically one series. Well, I'm marketing two series, but it's basically one. It's called the Winds of Destiny and the Pillars of the Empire. And it's about people with magical powers who are being enslaved again. Basically, I don't call it that way in the story, but they're being held and controlled and enslaved by a caste of ruling priests, hence Holy Empire. And each book follows one of those people escaping being sacrificed. And it has this Aztec vibe of pyramids being the places of sacrifice. Nothing else. I'm not implying anything about that culture, please. But I'm using a pyramid in the covers, and I started out writing the story with just an idea. I'm a serious pantser.
Yeah.
And I'm always glad when I find landmarks. And right now I'm writing book 7. I'm planning on 9 stories, 9 novels, plus a prequel. I'm finally getting some ideas for the prequel.
And that's just in the one series.
That is, it's 4 Winds books and it's 5 Pillars. Actually, the last book is bringing everyone together and smashing the magical veil that protects the empire. The prequel will be about how the veil came about and how it was constructed, and then how things. Well, I will put in the seed for the corruption that has or is plaguing the empire right now. The seed will happen in the prequel, so I'm not sure when I'll write that. Writing is a bit hard right now at the moment. I'm not getting a whole lot done. It's just that I'm feeling a bit exhausted with everything going on, but.
Yes.
That's not fun. Let's not talk about the bad part.
I think it's good to hear that even authors who are award winners or bestsellers or, authors that are farther ahead than where some of us who are newer are struggle with that, because a lot of times I think that imposter syndrome spins from isolation more than it does from that your book is bad, or that you as a writer is bad. It's just, we're all going to go through these periods where we wonder if what we're doing is worth it. Wonder if somebody cares, or we're doing the right thing, or why are we spinning our wheels? But it's sometimes we just have to step away and take a break.
Yes, and I'm going to come out publicly here as being on the spectrum, and that doesn't always make it easier to deal with things. I mean, I can deliberately use the things that my brain does to focus on things, but it's harder because now I'm in book 7 and it's starting to get a little boring. Because I know the place so well and I have to come up with new things without repeating the old stuff, and it's harder because the place is now there and I can't do as much discovery writing as I like. So I'm sending the current main character into the desert, but first he has to get out of the empire, and that's going to be fun. It's always fun getting them out. The Winds have it easy. They start at the edge of the empire. The Pillars have the hard way because they're centered in the inside Holy City, so they have a much harder way of getting out. And I think I have ideas for all of them now. Moon is going to be the last one, and I'm getting her out. But yeah, struggling with your own brain, struggling with loneliness. Yeah, especially winter. I mean, we're coming out of a pretty dark winter here in Germany, and dark as in very little sun.
Yeah.
And short days. I mean, I'm so glad we're almost at the equinox because it makes such a difference. But yes.
And thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah. And did you ask a question just now?
Oh, no. Becky did drop a comment though. Thank you,
Yes.
Becky. That's so kind of you. And you too. If anybody missed it, Becky joined us this morning and did a live read for one of her fantasy books, the newest one. And there might be a scene we have been waiting to see for a long time. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But you can jump over to the Indie Author Live Reads playlist to catch the replay of that if you missed it. Um,
Yes. I
but
will.
Hannah, you are so inspiring. It's so encouraging. I remember when I pulled up your Amazon for the first time and I saw all the books and all the beautiful covers that you put out from a writer's angle. That is a labor of love. There are so many hours there, so
Yes.
much heart and soul poured into that. Which of your series has been the most fun to write?
I'd say the wolves, actually, because though I will admit that the last book was a bit harder to pull off because I had to wrap everything up and had to write about people who weren't quite as forthcoming about their personalities and adventures. I mean, some characters talk to me a lot, others do not. But I think the wolves was the most fun. That was the time when I was writing 2,000 words a day, and the ideas just they just came, and I had so much fun with them because I mean, yes, they're love stories, but they're also adventures. They
Mhm.
have a lot of obstacles to overcome, and yeah, I have favorites, but but the whole story was so nice. It's set in the early 2000s and or mid 2000s, and um, they're starting to have cell phones, but there isn't yet GPS, and I think Google Maps is just about to come in, and so it was kind of interesting to look up current or recent technology and the advances and build that into the stories. And I mean, I have a motorcycle gang in there, and I have fun shifting stuff going on, and I have a big wolf clan uh, masquerading, not really masquerading, but their front is a tourist um, um,
Mhm.
company. They're
Yeah.
organizing trail hikes and stuff. And the whole thing is set, and I can say that here because you forgive me, it's set in a story that I call Ashton um, in the books, but it's actually Asheville, North Carolina, because I've been there.
Oh, wow.
And it's such a wonderful town. And I have in book 5, I have them eat in a Greek restaurant, and I have been there. They're sitting in the place where I have been sitting. So that was so much
Oh.
fun.
Have you sent the
So
book to the Greek restaurant and been like, "Hey, this might be your restaurant"?
well, I will have to dig up the name. I don't. I mean, I was there for a coaching event where I
Yeah.
was being coached. I was a coachee, and that was in 2013 or something. And
Mm.
and so we had lunch there, and I don't really remember the name of the place, but I was there with friends, and so I thought when I gave them the chance to meet the head of the Wolf clan in a restaurant, I'll put them there.
Mhm.
And they drop a little bit about, the time. I'm friends with someone who worked a lot there. When they were planning to raise the old city center of Asheville and turn it into a mall. And unfortunately, they
Mm.
didn't. But I kind of put that into there as a local color thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had a lot of fun with that, and I used the Appalachian Trail in book 2, and I
Oh.
researched that a lot, and I spent a lot of time on Google Maps.
I've always wanted to go hike the Appalachian Trail, although I don't know if I'd ever attempt something like a through hike. It's
Yes.
so beautiful. If you're not from the US and you don't know what the Appalachian Trail is, you should look it up. But it goes all the way up pretty much to Canada and all the way down
I think into
into the
North Carolina.
Smokies.
I think that's where it ends.
Yeah, yeah. So super, super exciting. And I love the little hints at local places.
Yeah, I
But
mean that
Hannah,
was really fun, and yeah. But right now, I'm really involved in this Holy Empire story, and that's actually the first series in a while where I'm going for book covers because this is
Mm.
not marketing, but I format my books with articles, and since then it's become so easy to create print versions that I'm actually buying print covers. I mean, I'm buying both ebook and print, and you can probably see I'm trying to hold up the books.
Yes, let's see 'em. We want to see the books.
This is
Oh, I love that cover.
South Breaks, and it's sort of like the orange brown, a little pink cover. I saw a lot of that color scheme in last year's blog offs.
Mm-hmm.
What's it? SFPBO8, I think.
Yes, yes. The
And so I
sky.
asked my cover designer to create one in that color scheme.
Mhm.
And then I have West, which is book 2, and it's purple because I love purple. And West is pretty much my favorite character.
Aw.
And I have East, and East is angry. He has a lot of anger
The
management issues, which is why he gets the red. And the latest book is North Shatters, and I don't have a print copy of North lying around yet, but that is green and white because she escapes into the north. They
mm.
have to survive in the tundra in winter. So it's a lot
Wow.
of, it has snow and trees and a lot of white and some peppermint green, which is kind of fun.
Oh, that's fun. I
And then we'll
love
get,
the print covers. They're beautiful.
they're so awesome, aren't they? I mean, I love my cover designer, Tyre. I mentioned her in the books, and she has this. This is the whoops. This is difficult to do it on. You might see the pyramid there in the background. That's the Chichen Itza,
Oh.
and I created the sigil, the compass rose,
Mm-hmm.
and I gave her a sketch, and she just turned it into such a beautiful, beautiful image for the cover. So all of the books will have the compass rose, and they will all have the pyramid, and then they have different backgrounds
Mm-hmm.
on the pyramid. And so I have the winds, which are basically south, west, east, and north, and then I have the pillars, which are elemental mages, and they will be earth, sky, sun, and moon. And the people with power live in houses,
Mm-hmm.
and all these houses always have 8 people and 4 wings and 4 pillars. And that's their name. They have, that's another thing that I borrowed from the Aztec culture. They have their magic name and they have an animal name. And that's something else I really need to show you. They have like a totem animal, and I put that into the book. You can
Oh,
see that.
wow. And the
Um,
formatting.
yeah, that's
Very
Atticus. It's
pretty.
pretty awesome. And like East gets a lion because he's a lion. This
You
is so
thought
hard.
down to even the small, like smallest details.
Yeah, I have these sigils in the books, and they're in the ebooks as well. So they're in the print books as a chapter header, well, as a chapter image really. And book 9 will have switching points of view, and I intend to put the adequate um, tribal image at the chapter to indicate the point of view characters. So
Mm.
it's going to be fun.
Ah, very exciting. I'm curious about, so you're German, you studied
I do.
English and Spanish, you translate. How did you get into writing and what made you decide to put out English versions?
Okay, so I learned to read really early. I could read before I was in school. And I quickly got bored with the stuff that we had to read in school. And then I started taking English in school in 5th grade. That's how it used to be in Germany. Now kids usually start in 3rd grade with English. They start in elementary school
Hmm.
learning English, which I think is awesome. I started in 5th grade and I wasn't really good with it. Not really. And when I was in 6th grade, when I was 11, my dad is a chemist, used to be a professor of chemistry, a scientist, and he had a lecture tour in the US. Oh, I need to go back further. I need to go away further. So, when I was the tender age of 2, my dad and my family went to the U.S. to Rochester, New York, because he worked in a lab there for 6 months. So when I was 2, I was exposed to American English.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember a whole lot of that. I have like 1 or 2 little scenes, and of course we have some picture books, but I don't actively remember a whole lot. But that was when I was exposed to English, and I studied language acquisition in university. And that means that was like at the end of the sensitivity period for accents and basically phonetics of a language. So I was lucky. I got English imprinted in my brain before all those synapses got erased. And then when I was 11, my father went to America again, and they took me for 4 weeks, and they dumped me with a family of scientists, which we knew from Germany. They were American scientists going back to America. So they put me there because the kids spoke German. And, well, I had like half a year of English under my belt in school, maybe a year and a half. I'm not entirely sure. Probably half a year. So that was fun, and they made me go to school in America because I missed like 1 week of school in Germany. So I had the exciting experience that even with very little English, I was able to communicate with the kids there, and I played chess, and we sort of, I mean, I went through the school days, and because they had nothing to do for me, I went to the school library and checked out some first grade books just to read. So I got more into English. Went back to school, wasn't very good, had a problem with some teachers, got bad grades, and my dad bribed me with a book on Western horsemanship. I mean, I was a horse girl.
Oh.
It happens to German kids too.
Oh.
And that got me started. I picked up the book, I took a dictionary, and I read through the first 3 chapters with the dictionary. And that was difficult because those chapters were on breed, on tack, and on feeding. The hardest chapters in the entire book. And then I didn't really look back. I trained myself to think in English when I was 15. And so I was lying in bed at night and thinking about the day and making myself think in English. And that was the beginning of, becoming bilingual. I fell in love with this language. I started reading everything I could get my hands on. And let me tell you, in the 1980s, getting your hand on English language books in Germany was not easy. My dad used to bring home some silly thrillers from his travels. So I read those. We had a box of Agatha Christie's. I read those. And so focusing on English in school wasn't difficult after that. And then I spent a year in California when I was 17, did an exchange year, stayed with family, went to high school in California. And when I came back, I had a hard time switching back into German.
The immersion gets you.
Absolutely, immersion. I never looked back. Writing. Oh, we're running out of time. Anyway, writing happened sort of, my dad's a storyteller. He used to tell us stories, some invented, well, all of them invented, but some fan fiction of a German author. You may not ever have heard of him. He's also quite controversial by now. Karl May, who wrote stories about imagined American Indians, about travels in the East and the Orient, and he'd never been there, but he wrote reams of books. I mean, seriously, 100 or something more.
Wow.
It's shocking. Also very much a person of the late 19th century. Very racistic, terrible. But I read the youth versions of his books, and my dad created fan fiction, magical fan fiction from those stories with those characters. That was fun. So for years, I was doing basically fan fiction in my mind. I was writing episodes for favorite series. I was, expanding on what I'd read. And then I started playing Dungeons and Dragons with some friends. And suddenly I ended up with a story in my head that wasn't fan fiction. It was
Mm.
about a magical sword and the Duke's son winning it back. And I haven't published that stuff, but it's about a 6 book German series, pretty standard fantasy. That was
Hmm.
my beginning. I wrote that in 2000, in the year 2000, started writing. Found an agency. They never sold a book of mine. I dissolved the contract in 2011, I think.
Mm.
And then I started self-publishing.
So you did go sort of that indie or the traditional route, and you even got agented, which I think,
Yeah.
for people who don't know that side, because most of the authors who come on here are indie and they're trying maybe to break into that. You think, oh, when you get an agent, that's it. My book's golden, but there's so much more that goes beyond even that. So it's like there's that process, and then they have to pitch it and get publishers to buy it.
Yes, and they did. I mean, they never actually told me where they all pitched it. I mean, in the end, I gave them 3 books. They didn't sell any one of them. It wasn't really a good fit anyway. I mean, they were focused on memoirs and mysteries. So
Mm-hmm.
selling fantasy didn't come easy for them, and they tried the. I mean, I basically got a look at. They tried what's there in German youth, young A publishers, and that was it. Uh, and the final book that I gave them, they decided they couldn't publish it. It wasn't good enough. And then eventually we decided to just dissolve the contract. I mean, that was easy because there was no money involved. They never sold anything. I never paid them anything.
Yeah, so nothing lost but time, really.
Yes. And eventually I realized I wanted to write in English because I had been writing short stories in German and in English, but I was writing my novels in German because the contract basically stipulated that I would have to go through a sub agency to market any English language books. And that meant even less royalties for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I
Mm-hmm.
decided to write in German and I didn't go anywhere. And when I thought, well, I want to do more, I had dragon stories in mind, I had short story more. Well, I had a contract. In the contract it said that short stories were my thing, but novels would have to go to them. So I
Mm.
could write short stories. I told them I needed to have that in the contract because I was already in anthology projects. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had some short stories down my belt. And um, I mean, self publishing wasn't that easy. I had my first book out in 2013. And there were a lot of things we didn't have online. I mean, there was no real formatting aid. A lot of the marketing places weren't there. There was no Kindle Unlimited, I think, or they were just starting out. They were just
Yeah,
starting out
yeah.
Kindle Unlimited, and I had my first books in Kindle Unlimited for a while, but all of that was still really new. I mean, I just missed the real golden age with ebooks, but. Yeah, I got my first 2 books out in 2013, and
And
then
never
if
looked back.
I can't live without writing. I mean, I was trying to get a coaching therapy practice off the ground for quite a few years. I'm a certified therapist,
Mm.
but it didn't work out. And then I eventually, when COVID hit and I couldn't have clients in my this used to be my practice room. um,
Oh.
when I couldn't have clients come in and I couldn't really shift into online coaching either, not that well, I decided it was just too much work for too little return. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
not that the books are earning me a whole lot, but it's still, and I found that I couldn't live without telling stories. So
Mm.
I'm back to telling stories, and I have about a dozen books lurking on the hard drive, in addition to what I'm writing right now. So there's a lot more coming. And yeah, I kind of hope eventually that the royalties will make a difference. Right now, they aren't. I mean, yes, I get royalties, but not a whole lot.
And that's the story of most authors, traditional or indie. Either way you go, unless you hit that lightning strike, this is, like I said earlier, it's passion. It's a passion project.
It's passion, and of course, we're always hoping for the breakthrough series, and we're always hoping for that one influencer that finds us.
That's right. And speaking of which, if you're an influencer or not an influencer and you just love to read, Hannah's books are linked in the description box. So you can start, that's a link to all of her books that are on Amazon. So you can actually go there, flip through these different series, find the one that you think's the best fit for you, and dive into it.
And thank you. And 3 of the series starters are free and South. Let me hold this up once again. The ebook for South is 99 cents, and I really try to price my paperbacks reasonably. They're like $12 to $13.
Mm.
So I mean, I do earn a bit from the print, but you have to cover the print and stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I still, I mean, I know people are struggling, and so I'm trying to price my books on the low side, just so that people can read them without any pain.
Yeah, yeah. Have access to the books that you had so much trouble having access to when you were young.
I did. I mean, Amazon was a godsend. I mean, seriously, I tried ordering books through the local bookstores and it was just terrible. I mean, it took like 6 weeks for a book to arrive. They were expensive. And with Amazon, I could just sort of order them, through the computer.
Yeah.
And they drop into my mailbox 4 days later or 3 days later. It was just so amazing. And
Oh, but thank you
um,
so much for sharing your story and just how you
no,
got into this and your books with all of us. I wish we had more time, but I want to be respectful of your time. I know you're super busy and tuning in from the other side of the world for me to do this. So I really appreciate it.
I am so happy to be here. And let's be honest, it's not that late here. It's like early evening, so I'm fine.
Part of my family is in Japan. And so when people are like, oh, what time can you do stuff? I was like, well, some nights I'm up till like really, really late at night in the US. So I could do, chats at different times. But then I feel like jet lag. Like, what day is this? What time is it? I don't know what's going on.
I work in home office. Sometimes I have a part-time job, and I have like mugs for every day of the week. So I have like a visual cue what day of the week it is. This is my Saturday mug.
Oh, how you know you're a writer? You come out of the house and you're like, oh, the sun.
Ah, ah.
Oh, goodness. Well, this has been good fun. Hannah, thank you so, so much again. And everybody, if you would like to keep up with Hannah and support her and her work, please check out her books and check out the link to her social media, which is in the description box as well, so that you can keep up with all that's coming. Because Hannah's the kind of author that already has so many books that you could start reading while you're waiting on the next one to come out, but has, like she said, other lurkers that are hopefully coming soon.
Yes. I have 3 more series waiting.
Yay!
I'm so grateful for being here, that you're having me, and that we had this chat, because it's great fun.
Yes, it was. Thank you, Hannah. Everybody, have a great day. I will be back in about 2 hours with Dele Tao, who is going to come on. So 2 different people that speak multiple languages today to talk about her writing journey. So tune in and subscribe to see more indie author live chats. Thank you so much, everybody.